This morning, the 27th of December 1991, just moments after takeoff from Stockholm Arlanda Airport, it is reported that Scandinavian Airlines Flight 751 has crashed. After last night's weather, it is reported that the airport's runway was full of snow, slush and ice, but despite the frigid weather outside, the passengers who were boarding the mid-morning flight found the cabin to be rather warm as the heaters were on overnight. The weather was said to be just below freezing, with light winds, and the plane was set to fly from Stockholm to Copenhagen, then to Warsaw, back to Copenhagen, and thereafter to Barcelona today. That was until the crash. The airliner was a fairly new DC-9 aircraft, which can be recognized by its two engines which are located behind the wings, and was flown by Captain Rasmussen, along with his first officer Olaf Cedermark. Before entering the cabin, Captain Rasmussen had just finished his exterior check of the plane, which had been delayed due to the weather. The captain, who doesn't compromise safety for schedule, instructed the ground crew to carry on a second de-icing of the plane. The crew allegedly had difficulties ridding the wings of the plane of snow. Reports state that there were build-ups of snow on the runway from the night before, which the crew was avoided comments against the runway. As the plane approached the boarding point of runway 08 and was clear of the takeoff, the captain and his first officer conducted the necessary checklists in order to take off, and regardless of the weather, the takeoff was resumed. At 1,400 feet, there were odd sounds of failure made by the crew and the passengers. 25 seconds into the flight, as the plane was climbing, there seemed to have been a problem, a sound that was almost like an explosion in the air. It was obvious that the source was the right engine. As the captain moved the right control back, the plane gave a strange response as the engine performance increased as the throttle was utilized. The pilot checked his displays and switched the signs of attack and structural failure. Looked at the plane's cabin pressure, but no decompression was found to signal that there was a bomb or a door was open. The levels were stable. A flight attendant noticed smoke and smelled something burning. At 3,200 feet above the ground, the crisis intensified as the right engine quit. After so much of a minute of flying, and 2 seconds later, the left engine quit as well. The plane was powerless. Under a minute and a half after takeoff, Flight 751 began to fall from the sky. Passengers and crew were silent at this moment, terrified as the metal wave glided through the sky. The pilot attempted to restart the engine, but things got worse as the engine erupted in flames. The exhaust gas temperature began rising rapidly, with the maximum temperature was about 680 degrees Celsius, and it rose to about 800 degrees Celsius. The pilot was hesitant to pull the fire extinguisher in the left engine, as he would not be able to restart the engine after this, as a fire in the engine could spread to the rest of the plane. As the plane fell at a rate of 1,200 feet per minute, air traffic controllers at Stockholm Arlanda Airport were not aware of the plane's failure when the captain of the SKA 751 did make contact. They were informed to make a right turn back to Arlanda, but the radio died shortly after, due to the failure of the engine. Only the right engine was at the moment able to generate power, but it was spinning too slow to generate the necessary power for the instrument to operate. The plane was now falling at a rate of 20 feet per second. Another SAS flight captain, Bill Humberg, who flies DC-9 aircrafts, was also on board the plane as a passenger. Scheduled to fly the aircraft later that day, he hurried into the cockpit to assist the crew. Olaf Cedermark, the first officer, handed the emergency checklist, and the captain instructed him to start the APU, which is the auxiliary power unit. Olaf attempted to control the flight to maintain the speed and altitude and ensure the wings were leveled. Humberg was successful in launching the APU, bringing back the radio and the instruments. The control tower instructed Scandinavian 751 to turn right, heading 090 and radar trajectory 0-1. The plane was 1,600 feet from the ground and attempted to revive it beyond tweaking. The plane could not turn around, as doing so would have stalled the engine. The captain's only choice was to look ahead of them and find a safe location to land the plane. He told the passengers to prepare for ground emergency, and they braced themselves. SAS 751 was now gliding perilously through the dense forest. Rasmussen lifted the aircraft's nose in an attempt to slow it down, hoping to soften the crash land just about 500 feet above the ground. The landing gear was low, and the plane was guided to crash. The plane crashed 15 kilometers northeast of Stockton Orlando Airport, on through 25 meters of pine forest, and the pilot's head would explode. The surroundings smelled of airplane fluid, and the plane fuselage was broken into three pieces. First officer Olaf Sidney was found to be bleeding heavily from his forehead and had a broken bone in his hand, and Captain Per Homberg, who smashed the wall upon impact and skidded down the wall onto the floor, was unconscious. Cutting his eyelid and breaking his collarbone. Captain Stefan Rasmussen, however, was not found to be severely injured, and dozens of passengers escaped from the wreckage through the breaks in the plane. Fortunately, the plane did not burst into flames, though another threat was posed to the survivors, as many of them were not properly equipped for the snowy conditions, some even lacking shoes due to the previously hot climate of the cabin. Rescuers arrived within minutes of the crash, saving victims from hypothermia. Out of the 129 persons who boarded the Scandinavian Airlines flight 751, only 92 passengers sustained serious injuries, 8 of them being considered serious. Thankfully, all parties of the crash survived. The Swedish Accident Investigation Board, SAIB, as well as the airline's own private investigation team, are now investigating the crash.
Thanks for listening, and now we're soon using regular schedules on the program.
Taste the unique flavor of our culture at Royal Castle.
Good evening. Welcome back to you, our viewers. Now, the question of the night posed to you is, do you think it was a breach of ethics for Scandinavian Airlines to allow the captain of Flight 751 to speak to the media before the crash's investigators?
Enjoy the world's best with the latest in digital technology from Quartz.
After 2 months of investigation, investigators have concluded the cause of the crash of SAS Flight 751. Tor Hulken was the head of Scandinavian's investigation team, and Hendrik Elender for the SAIB. During the course of the investigation, the police kept everyone off the site of the crash, around the plane being taped off for 100 meters. They planned the documentation of the site.
Photographing, the budgeting, and all the parts. The team made two laptops, conversation, and still flight data. They spoke to the spy, all told similar stories, love from the influence of like they're being sued, the entire loss of power, and the engine on fire. Hendrik believed that it was strange, I lost power and engine at the same time, as this was not supposed to occur. The problem with engines is that to establish further investigation. Laws and signs of common structure of failure. He found numerous parts of the same. This was strange. As he never seen to this extent before. He had to conduct a check all the missing parts and investigate the missing parts. The story feels along to push the plane took. They found 500 fractures, just a fraction was actually from the engine. with a series of fans incoming air and various stages of compression. When that flow is disrupted, the free of the engine progressively and spirals forward. This creates a very balanced stage felt to take. The fan blade runs down the is prevented from rising directing air to the blast engines. It then passes fan blades struck by ice. The weather conditions will crash more than the porosity and revision limits. How temperature to 200 degrees Celsius. The nice conditions where the formation of ice on the surface 850 meters of smooth for the ice. But the clear ice 1 inch at the top of the field does not notice as a cave shiny and the temperature that's moving. Not in step as clear regions. On this model, the engine is the engine after passing on its wings. As the craft takes the models to take the aircraft along the ice on the wings get right into the engine. But the parts of the engine
which the DC-9 is equipped with are designed to withstand this type of ice ingestion.
The wrong reaction by a pilot to an emergency can be catastrophic. The first thing one must do in the event of a surge like what occurred on this DC-9 is pull back the throttle and use the balance between the incoming fuel and the incoming air. This is exactly what Captain Rasmussen claims to have done. But, if so, what could have caused the surge to worsen? The flight data recorder said the opposite transpired. It says that after the surge, thrust was reduced, and seconds later it increased to full power. What caused this mysterious event to transpire? Investigators asked themselves this question for months. 2 months after the incident, the plane's manufacturer answered this baffling mystery. The atomic thrust restoration, ATR, of the plane kicked in. What is ATR? Many officials asked themselves this and each other. The system was designed to make it impossible for pilots to throttle back their planes to dangerous levels. The FAA discovered that they were doing so while taking off and landing to reduce noise over residential neighborhoods. So, when Rasmussen reduced power to clear the engine surge, the system interpreted this as such, and the ATR pushed the throttle forward. The investigation carried out by the various bodies concluded that the pilots took accurate measures to clear the surge, which caused the incident. Since Captain Stephen Rasmussen was not informed of the automatic thrust restoration system, he did not know that the only way he could save his plane was to switch it off. The crash of SAS Flight 751 was indeed the fault of Scandinavian Airlines for not informing their pilots of this new measure.
When asked about the system, the ATR, the airliner's officials were not even certain that the system even existed, as it was new to SAS. The company claimed that they hadn't purchased this modification, that it was sneaked in by another system. Well, there you have it. After months of investigation, it has been concluded that the crash of SAS Flight 751 was a result of a lack of communication among the personnel of Scandinavian Airlines. The airliner now claims
That they shall train their pilots on how to use the ATR system and implement steps for the ground crew to ensure that planes' wings are inspected thoroughly for clear ice, making it a requirement for the mechanics to go up and touch the wings with their hands. Thank you for listening to this breaking news special. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Oof! Oof! Arg! I'd never let you have this boat, not even if you were Mrs. Puff?